Inexpensive placebo kills pain better than a cheap one. A plain chunk of iron can be worth more than gold. You went out for milk and came back $100 lighter. And sure, these sound like some pretty illogical decisions. I mean, who even does that? But what if I told you it's not random at all? What if every single one of them has a perfectly good explanation?
Ben, I got a salad.
And 4 things after it.
But I got a salad.
Nick, the salad isn't an excuse.
Now here's where it gets interesting. When you walk into a grocery store, naturally you start with the fruit and veg section, because when you put apples, avocado, and a salad in your basket, you feel like someone who's making good, healthy decisions today. And of course you are. And then it gets psychologically easier for us to toss chocolate or chips in there too, like the good purchases have already made up for that little weakness. Then you go for the stuff you actually came for, and somehow it's all scattered far apart from each other, and while you're putting together your little basket, you walk past hundreds of fascinating products, deals, sauces you didn't even know existed 10 seconds ago. Studies on shopper movement really do show that the more ground you cover and the more products you see, the more you want to grab something else. The checkout, as they say, is your last chance. So the rational part of the job is done, you've bought everything. And that's exactly when the little stuff shows up in front of you, the kind that doesn't take much thinking. Gum, sweets, drinks, odds and ends. The price of each one seems small compared to the whole basket. But here's the thing, not everything in a store is a psychological trick. Milk, for example, is often at the back, not just because you'll see hundreds of other products on your way to it. Sometimes the reason is much simpler: refrigeration equipment and delivery convenience. It amazes me how a few words can change the way we see the price we're willing to pay for certain products. You pick up 2 shampoos, one just says shampoo, and the other one, natural, 0% silicones. Which one seems higher quality? Yeah, the second one has already sold you on the idea that it's cleaner, maybe safer, and that's why it maybe costs more money. This is exactly where psychology turns into economics. Because the price of a product isn't just the cost of ingredients, packaging, and delivery. It's also the amount a buyer is willing to pay to feel safe about what they're getting. There's an interesting mechanism at work here. When a manufacturer writes in big letters that something isn't in the product, no silicones, no parabens, no GMO, we can automatically decide that the absence of it is an advantage, and that it's worth more money. But for the business, a different question is sometimes more important. Does the buyer think it's better? Because if they do, that means they're willing to pay more. Though here's a funny observation. Eco on a tray of chicken works, but eco on laundry detergent actually hurts sales, supposedly because we read gentle on nature as doesn't get stains out. This is Rory Sutherland's example, that same trade-off in your head. If it's gentle on nature, it must be a bit worse at the job. And if a few words on the packaging can make us pay more, then another question comes up. What is a thing actually worth? And I'll tell you this, for an economist, price is how much. For you, price is what? There was this great experiment, published in JAMA in 2008, one of the biggest medical journals on the planet. They ran it on a group of people. Half of them got a placebo for pain relief and were told it cost $2.50, and the others got one for 10 cents. The result: in the expensive group, the pain got weaker in 85% of them. In the cheap group, 61%. But the flip side is more interesting. In the expensive group, the pain got worse in 15% of them. In the cheap one, almost 40%. Let that sink in. There was nothing in either pill. And honestly, can you tell a good medicine from a bad one? Are you a chemist? Have you read the clinical trials for your cough syrup? No. Me neither. The price tag is pretty much the only thing your brain has to go on. We're not paying for medicine, we're paying for confidence. And as it turns out, confidence knows how to heal. Just recently, in May 2026, a pretty interesting thing happened in Paris. The auction house Art Curial sold an original fragment of the Eiffel Tower's spiral staircase from 1889. 14 steps, around 1.4 tons of steel and riveted metal, for 450,160 euros. The estimate was 120 to 150,000 euros, which, just so you know, is 3 times above the top end. And by the way, the art curial rep says it straight out. The smaller sections do better because they fit in a room and they nicely wrap up one full turn of the spiral. Smaller chunks sell for more. Let that sink in. And here's another fascinating one. You know how you could make jewelry out of iron trendy, the most ordinary metal on Earth, the one that costs almost nothing? 2 centuries ago, during the war with Napoleon, Prussia was running short on money in its treasury. And the state offered people a deal: hand over your gold jewelry for the army, and in return you'd get an iron copy of it, stamped, "I gave gold for iron." And that iron piece worked on 2 fronts at once. It showed everyone around you not only that you'd had gold, but that you'd given it away. So it was both wealth and patriotism in a single object. Turns out, we're willing to pay big money for things whose actual cost is tiny, as long as you add a good story to them. A thing that doesn't solve a single problem you have, but you want it. We call that a trend. The logic is that you buy a useful thing because it's a necessity. But if you bought something you don't need, that means you can afford it. Uselessness works as a message. Veblen, an American economist, noticed something back in 1899 that still makes economists twitch to this day. For some products, demand goes up with the price. It got more expensive, so it became more desirable. Because it got more expensive. Let that sink in. This is literally the opposite of everything they teach you in Econ 101. And here's what's interesting. Veblen was writing about status. Look, I can afford this. But today it more often works the other way around. Not I'm better than you, but I'm just like you. A trend is the same mechanism, only flipped inside out. You're not paying for superiority. You're paying to be one of them.
Nick, why do you need that?
Ben, everyone's buying it.
Oh, Nick, that's not a reason.
It's the best reason I've got.
And is Nick wrong? Like he wasn't buying sneakers, or he was buying the right to walk into the room and be one of them. And he got it. Sometimes the things that seem irrational make perfect sense once you understand why. We'll dive into even more fascinating topics in the videos ahead. So if you enjoyed this one, hit like and subscribe. You won't want to miss what's next.